Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. I can literally not think of a more important topic for us to discuss today than advertising. So, why is advertising relevant? Well, we've been talking over the past week or two about the importance of running your branch like a business. You are the CEO, the president, the boss, whatever you want your title to be, of your branch. You're smart, you're motivated, you're experienced, but in some cases, it's helpful to have a little bit of mentoring or coaching of things that maybe we should do that we may not be doing. So, we talked recently about the importance of having a business plan, how incredibly valuable for any business it is to have a written business plan that defines who we are and what we do, what we expect to accomplish, who our target audience is, how we're going to reach them. So, that of course dovetails in nicely to today talking about advertisements. Now, most of you, I believe, have a business plan in place now. So we're working with you, reviewing it each month. We'll make fine tune adjustments. So I think all of you have identified specifically your target audience, who it is that you want to help with the startup business funding package. Now, if any of you haven't figured that out, of course, that comes first. But once we have our target audience identified, now we need to determine how to reach them. So let's go ahead and get started with today's topic, which is on advertising. So, as I mentioned, each of you should have a written business plan for your office, branch office. As we've discussed, it's to identify your target audience as one of the elements. Now we need to talk about how we're going to get the word out to your target audience. Well, we may want to use advertising. Advertising is a type of a marketing activity that can help you reach your target audience. Most of you in the business plans we've reviewed have an advertising strategy because it would be somewhere between insane and illogical to think that you're going to have a business and you don't have some way to get the word out. That's we always use the subway analogy. Can you imagine that you and I would go out, we'd buy a Subway franchise, but we wouldn't put any signs up. There'd be no form of marketing or advertisement, and we wonder why no one comes in and buy our sandwiches. Well, there's a handful of you that we want to fix, of course, but there's a handful of you that have become branches and you seem to have no advertisement going on, no client development activities. Your cupboard is bare. Well, that's horrible. So we're going to fix that today. Now, just in case you don't inherently know what the benefits of advertising are, it includes increasing your customer reach, building awareness of your business and your brand. Because remember, as a branch, you're going out under your branding, not under ours. So it's under your branding, under your entity. Helps promote the benefits of your services, and obviously it increased sales and demand. It's just painfully obvious, right? If you have something that you want to offer to others, you need some way to create awareness so they can sign up, right? So they can enroll, so they can become a client, so they can become at least a prospect. So let me ask each of you just informally here using the Q&A function of Zoom. Just answer yes or no. Do you feel that you have a good advertising plan in place right now? So Andrew, yes or no? Ashley, yes or no? Bernard, yes or no? Felicia's answered. Terrence, Kenya, Larry, do you have one? And it's okay if you don't, right? Not here to beat anyone up. But I think you can pretty well measure if what you have is working or not. As such, do you have a good pipeline? Do you have plenty of prospects that are contacting you? Now, certainly we can do the old school cold calling, but I think you would always be better off if prospects were contacting you. You kind of control the conversation. Pearlie, going on down the list, we have 418 of you, so I don't have enough time to read every name off, but I'm looking for your feedback. Do you feel that you have an adequate advertising plan in place currently? And it's okay if you do, and it's okay if you don't. We're still going to go through the topic, but I'm just looking for a little feedback. Because again, it's pretty clear to measure, right? It's not really as much of an opinion as if you have a good advertising plan, then you have lots of prospects, you have lots of clients, and your branch is making lots of money. Because I have a few of you that are saying yes, but it's interesting, your branch isn't very profitable. So there's a massive disconnect, but we'll address that another time. So I think we can all agree it makes sense to advertise. So getting away from all the academic description, it's a way so your prospects know who you are and they contact you, right? That's really what we want. We want our prospects to know who we are, and we want them to reach out to us because our time's much more valuable responding to incoming inquiries than it is cold calling. Now, some of you are good at cold calling. You want to do that, that's fine. But advertising. So I think we're all on board that advertising makes sense, right? Businesses advertise, successful businesses advertise. So now let's talk about where we might want to advertise. So it may make sense, or maybe you overlooked it, assuming that you've identified your target audience, which we've talked about previously, that's who you need to reach, right? So your target audience is who you want to work with. Now you determine how do you reach that set of people. So for example, let's say that you want to get referrals or leads or clients from a chamber of commerce. What's one of the best ways is to go advertise in the chambers on the chamber's website or in their newsletters. Because just simply joining the chamber probably isn't going to generate hardly any new flow of business because you're just another name in the directory. So we need to advertise. We need to reach out and communicate our proposition, which I'm going to give you the ad. I've got it ready for you. So you don't have to figure out what to advertise. I have it. We're going to go through it. But we're talking about your target audience. So if you want to work with a given association, let's say that you want to work with a business association, approach them and say, hey, I'd like to advertise on your website or in your newsletters if they have that, right? It just kind of makes sense, because if these are the people you want to work with, then you want to create awareness through the means of communication that are already occurring from those organizations, right? It's not rocket science. Okay. Now, let's say that you're more interested in a community approach. So it's in your area. I'm telling you, a gold mine, and if you make any notes today, make this note, write down Coffee News. Coffee News is a freaking gold mine. So I'm not an advertiser for Coffee News, but let me give you a brief description and you can go look it up afterwards. So Coffee News is a franchise model. I'm not trying to get you to buy a franchise from them. People have already bought the franchises, but they run local weekly publications that have little advertisements as well as community news. You can get advertisements in Coffee News for next to nothing. Sometimes they'll barter with you, or you can do some sort of revenue share with them. But they have publications in most areas, not every area, but most area across the country. If you Google Coffee News, you can bring up, and then you can see, choose by state. So I'm interested in being an advertiser, because you don't go to Coffee News corporate to advertise. You go down to the local, what they call publisher. So if you're not familiar with Coffee News and you're on a tight budget, I would absolutely recommend working with your local Coffee News. Coffee News was really doing well before the pandemic. And then, of course, when people stopped going to coffee shops and going out to eat, they had to kind of rebound a little bit. We have a couple of you that use billboards. You might think that's radical, but Brad's not on this morning. Brad has gone out and bought billboards. One of the billboards he put was on Interstate 35 in Texas. Incredible results. Gets a lot of truck drivers especially. So those are two examples of reaching out to the community. And then, of course, there's all kinds of online sites that you could advertise through. I'm not smart enough to teach you how to optimize Facebook advertisements or LinkedIn. If you have that competency, fine. If not, maybe move on. But I strongly encourage all of you at least to run an ad in Coffee News, because it's outstanding. It works. It absolutely works. And the ad that I'm giving you today will fit nicely. So the Coffee News ads are all the same size, about the size of a business card. All right, so I know some of you will come back and say, well, I'm stone cold broke. This isn't gonna work. Well, if you're stone cold broke, we got to fix it. And the way we fix it is by earning money, right? Probably not by borrowing money, probably by earning money. So some business that you own or you work at needs to generate positive cash flow. Obviously, we hope that it's your branch, because there's a tremendous need out there for access to capital, and you and I can provide it. The bottom line is, you may be able to do some bartering or revenue share, especially with organizations like Coffee News. Now, I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't know if it was Larry or someone. They wanted an ad with the chamber, and that person was broke, so they offered to go in and clean the chamber offices twice a week for a month to get a free ad. I mean, if you're that downtrodden, barter your time. Go give free back massages or something. But many organizations might consider a revenue share if you're in that tight of a position. All right, so we've covered why advertising is important, and then where. We want to advertise wherever our target audience is looking, right? No surprise there. So let's move on how to advertise. There are 4 elements, I believe, and again, I want to thank several of you for helping put together topic. There's 3 or 4 of you that spent time helping provide input, those of you that have been successfully advertising. And so our little committee came up, this isn't from a website or a textbook, but our committee came up with 4 elements of an effective advertisement, especially for what you and I do. We need a title, a subtitle, brief content, and a strong call to action that has a free offer. We always want to offer something free to get them to respond. And I think that was Tim, I forget, but I think Tim really emphasized that. So these are the 4 elements, but I'm going to provide you the advertisement, so you don't have to go figure out what to advertise or what to put down. But those are the elements. Now, you can mix and match as you want, but here is what we recommend to advertise. Let me make it a bit larger. That's a little too large. So this, now, of course, how it looks laid out will be based upon where you're advertising, if it's online or printed, and you could add graphics or what have you. But let's say that you wanted to go give Coffee News a try. This is the content that you could give them, of course, with your phone number, but we're going to talk about this, that they would be able to put into an ad for you. They'll design the ad that fits their space. So as we've talked about so many times, the lead line for us is, do you need money to start or grow a business? Now you could say, do you need capital? Do you need funding? But just to make it as basic as possible, do you need money to start or grow a business? Question mark. Because that should get their interest. If the answer is yes, hopefully they'll continue to read. If the answer is no, they're not a prospect, they're going to move on to something else, which is fine. What is it that you and I know that's the key, the secret to getting funding for a business? It's to have a fundable business, right? You can't just want money. You can't just need money. We need to have a fundable business. Well, to no surprise, that's what you and I do through the Startup Business Funding Package, is create a fundable business. But you can't just lead with, hey, we'll help you create a fundable business, because most people don't care. They just want funding. So we've got our title and then our subtitle. Now, briefly, we're going to describe what we do. Briefly. Too much is too much. People won't read it. And we're assuming we kind of developed this. If you'll take this concept, go to your local coffee news, this will fit very nicely. New grant subsidized program available to help any business qualify for 250,000 plus. Now, again, you can fine tune this as you want, but there are several important things there. The grant subsidy is relevant. It's true, right? The startup program is 5,000. The participant pays you half, 2,500. The grant matches that, so it is grant subsidized. We can work with any business. We don't want them thinking about they need to filter themselves out or that they wouldn't qualify. And then, of course, we can get them really as much as they want, they need, as much as they qualify for, but putting a dollar amount in tends to get their interest. So there's our opening statement. And now we're going to provide just simply 4 bullets, and we'll talk about the bullets and why they're here in the ad. So the first bullet is clarifying that there's no minimum credit scores, no minimum time in business, that startups are okay. And that's crucial, right? Because a lot of people have shitty credit. And so they'd say, oh, this won't work for me because I've got bad credit. Or, oh, I'm a new business and I always hear I need to have at least 2 years time in business. So we're trying to overcome objections quickly because we don't filter on that. And then just reiterating, this is a bit redundant, that startups are okay, because some people think, oh, startups can't get funding or the program wouldn't work for startups. So that's bullet 1. So we're really proactively trying to overcome the objections that they may have in their mind based upon their prior experiences. Now, as we talked about yesterday, we changed our process, and we've received a lot of positive accolades from many of you. So as of yesterday, we discussed it in yesterday morning's training. Now we're focused on getting clients their first tranche of funding immediately upon enrollment. Even though their business isn't fundable yet, we want to get them an initial tranche, get them at least offers to choose from. So that's a true statement. We started that yesterday. We talked about that on yesterday's training. And I think that's important to include in your ad, because even though it takes 30 to 60 days to create a fundable business, there's a lot of people out there that's really looking for, what can you do for me now? Sure, fundable business in 30 to 60 days sounds great, but I need money now. I need money now. So this addresses the now. Third bullet is and so here we're providing more details of actually what we do. Doesn't tell the full story, because an advertisement isn't designed to tell the full story, right? That's the agreement, that's a proposal. This is an advertisement. I think some of you have a tendency to think that you need to tell the full story on the first exposure, and that's too much. People will tune you out. So you're to receive needed resources for free, which is true, to become legally, we're going to add the word legally in because some people are worried, oh, is this legal? Is it moral? Is it a scam? Of course it's not. Legally fundable on paper. So we're just giving some examples, giving some examples. Not sure why that's still highlighted there. There we go. Giving some examples of some of the deliverables that they receive. It's not everything, but we just need to give them a little bit of a sampling so they can kind of start to get a gist of what we do to help them become fundable. Because that's the concept here, help businesses qualify. So we'll provide them a commercial address if they need, Secretary of State filing if they need, trade lines if they need, collateral if they need. So that's a very tight synopsis, not meant to be a full description, because this is an advertisement. This isn't the agreement. It's not a proposal. It's an ad. This fourth bullet, when we had our committee together last night, we knew that some of you would push back on this fourth bullet, but I think it's incredibly important, and I'll tell you why, and it's not in a self-serving way. So let's just imagine that you're at your local coffee shop and you pick up your coffee news and you're flipping through it while you're waiting for your pancakes and bacon to come out. And so we want to be able to attract both participants that could be a client of yours, But there are some people out there that say, hey, wow, this is great. I'd love to get paid to help others. And so they come to work for you. They're not circumventing you. So get past that. They're coming to be a rep for you, for your branch, because they know people and or they're willing to go out and create awareness. Successful businesses typically aren't ran by just one individual. So if you start thinking about, I need a sales team, can't say, oh, I can't afford a sales team, because you can pay your sales team commissions off of what they generate. I would strongly recommend including this, because this will attract some responses and they might be able to introduce you to lots of prospects, thus clients, thus income. If you're opposed to that, well, of course, you could change any of these bullets if you wanted. So we've covered the title, we've covered the subtitle, we've covered the content. Now it comes down to the call to action with a free offer. Now we can debate this some, and I welcome that. First of all, I believe that the call to action needs to be providing them your branch's phone number, not a website, not an email address, a phone number that gives them the option to call or text. So that presumes that you have a branch phone number. If you don't have a branch phone number, we probably should get that set up. The voicemail on that number needs to sound professional. Whenever possible, you need to try to answer those calls coming in live. Don't screen them because you think they're a bill collector. Answer every call, right? With enthusiasm. So we do believe, and of course, you're going to put your phone number, not our phone number, but we do recommend phone numbers. So some say, oh, I want to drive them to my website. I want this to be passive. I don't think it's going to work very well. We're talking about money. People aren't going to necessarily trust without talking to someone. They're going to want to talk to you or someone on your team. I think the call to action needs to be providing them a phone number that you answer professionally, you answer with enthusiasm. Some of you I call for when we have scheduled calls, and I feel like I need a Zoloft when I get off the phone with you. You sound down and depressed. It's like, who would buy anything from you? So obviously, be energetic, be professional. If you miss the call, have a good voicemail. Don't let it be full. If they send you a text, of course, then respond back. And so that's part of the call to action. But again, was it, I can't remember if it was Trevor or Celino or who just really emphasized, we want to give away something free. And so that motivates them to respond, because otherwise it's like, call me if you want me to sell you something. Well, no one wants to be sold. But if we've generated some interest, they can call or text you to get a free funding guide. I'm going to describe what that is. So we'll deliver on that, so it's not bait and switch. But having a free offer is important. Now, there was some debate with the group last night of, well, call or text to attend a workshop or to attend the 10 mistake PowerPoint. Well, that may be where we want to get them to involved in the funnel, but that's not going to resonate, I don't think, necessarily with them. So a free funding guide is the way to go. So how do you deliver this so it's not bait and switch? Well, I believe that the free funding guide is the 10 mistake PowerPoint that we've provided each of you. Each of you should have it, editable format, and then just save it as a PDF and send that out. And so that would be the deliverable. So with that being said, that's the end of the content here. I want your comments, your feedback on giving this a try. So I'd like each of you to consider placing an ad with Coffee News. Reach out to them this week and run this ad or a variance of this ad, of course, with your contact information. Who will give that a try? It's very inexpensive. Again, I don't have any financial relationship. It's not a kickback. And if you're stone cold broke, try to work out a barter or a revenue share with them, but it's very inexpensive. So who is willing to give that a try if you look at your branch and you don't have enough leads? Because some of you are doing great. Some of you are doing piss poor. And it's not because you're not smart, and it's not because you're not motivated, and it's certainly not because you don't have something that people need and want and can benefit from. I think it's because you have no leads, or you have very few leads. When I talk to some of you, well, how does your prospect pool look? And you name off like your cousin, the guy who lives down the hall, and your ex-jailmate. Well, I mean, 2 or 3 people, that's not a lead pool. There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to help one client per day. What we do is real, it's valuable, it's effective, it's credible, but you've got to get the word out. And if you're no good at getting the word out, you need to pull in some resources that can help you with that. And advertising is a way to do that. All right, we have a couple of you who are not branches yet. So if you go to chapmanloanprogram.org under grant resources, at the bottom of the page is the link to become a branch. That's not really my intention today, but that answers. And so once you become a branch, then we provide you the resources, including the editable agreement, press release, proposal, PowerPoint that we talked about. If any of you are a branch and you say, hey, I don't have that PowerPoint, then reach out to us. Obviously, our email and our phone numbers on the website. But going back to this ad, feedback on the ad. What would you do different? So if you were to run this ad, Ashley, would you feel other than the phone number, of course, would you change something about this ad? Because what we're assuming is you have only about the space of a business card. That's how much space we have. And again, we're developing this off of a coffee news model. I think it was James, but I'm horrible with names, and you all know I'm on narcotics 7 days a week due to the cancer. But I think it was James. He ran a similar ad to this in the USA Today, and he generated crazy business. So you don't really have to think small. I mean, if you wanted to go place small ads in the Wall Street Journal, you could do it. In the USA Today, you could do it. In your local paper, you could do it. Now, I know some of you are younger than I am, so you're like, well, printed media, that's kind of outdated. So that's okay. You can go use online advertisements as well. You'll just have to figure out how to navigate that. I'm trying to convince you that if you are a branch office, you need to be running a profitable business. It's foolish to have invested into a branch, to either have paid a license fee or promised to pay a license fee and not generate a profit. Again, the analogy we use is a Subway. Why in the world would you go out and sign up to open a Subway franchise and not sell sandwiches? It's freaking insane. It makes no sense, especially when you have hungry people that want to buy sandwiches. I promise you, there are hungry people that want to enroll in the Chapman Loan Program, in the startup program. They have a need and you have a solution, but they don't even know you exist. I think that's the problem. So we've already talked about, we need to have a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, get with us. We need to develop a written business plan. If you have a business plan, you need to know who your target audience is. If you don't even know who you're trying to reach, how are you going to reach them? And if you have a business plan with a target audience, you need to have some way to reach out to them, which is commonly called an advertisement. Because it's so much better, in my opinion, to run a small ad, and you can run in multiple coffee news, but now you have people every day calling or texting you, interested people calling or texting. That puts you in such a better position than just getting a list and cold calling. Now, some of you are good at cold calling. Some of you are hiring telemarketers to do cold calling, and there's nothing wrong with that. But man, you've got to be really passionate about doing that, because that's a beating. Here, you're getting incoming inquiries. All right, so Lon's asking about, we talked recently about getting leads off of Data Axle Sales Genie, so you can get like home-based businesses or newly formed businesses. So that's true. And so that could give you your target audience. Then you could reach out to them with this message. You could reach out to them via emails, via texts. Again, calls are a beating. a couple of you have tried and have had success doing postcard campaigns. It's up to you how you want to get this message out. But if you're early stage and you really just you don't have clarity of how to advertise, I'm telling you, coffee news is crazy good. And I guess, all right, I'm getting some pressure, so I'll just go ahead and bring up coffee news. So give me just a second here. I hadn't planned on doing that, so I didn't prepare. So let's go to coffee news. Coffee news. And so we need to find, okay, coffeenews.com. Now they're trying to sell you a franchise. That's not what we're talking about. This is what the little newspapers look like. But we can go to how to advertise, advertising FAQ, scroll down, find our local publishers. They have a publisher directory. So let's say that you're in Atlanta, Georgia. I didn't prepare for this, so let's see if this goes okay. So here in Georgia, oh, they don't have any franchise owners in Atlanta, Georgia, so that wasn't well prepared. Let's do Texas. Okay, and so then now you can see that Matt Brown is the publisher, and it tells you what his coverage area is. So his coffee news is distributed in this area, which is verbally described here and in a map. So you could go to Matt Brown, you could go to Patricia and Philip Perrin for their area, Thomas Tenen in Midland, Odessa, and so forth. So you have different, I guess they call it publishers, and then seek to market through them. Let's choose California. Yeah, so here's the one in Porterville, here's the one in this area, and so forth. So there used to be a lot more coffee news, quite frankly, before the pandemic, as I mentioned. But the bottom line is it's a great way to advertise. You might say, well, there's none in my area. Well, you could advertise in other areas. This is not geographically limited. So with that being said, let's see if we can go back. So our topic today is we need you to be profitable. We need you to run your branch like a business. And businesses are ran by having business plans and having identified target audiences and by having leads and then closing those leads and making money. If you're not making money, then we need to do something different. We offer to have weekly one-on-one sessions. Of course, it's free with you, so we can fine-tune this. You can find our phone number and our email on chapmanloanprogram.org. Let's work together so you're helping people and making money. Thanks, everyone. I ask you to give it a try. Advertise wherever you'd like, but let's run an ad somewhere. Get with your local chamber and run an ad on their website or in their newsletter. Get with a business association and do it. Coffee news, consider a billboard, online, whatever you want. But this ad or something close to it, with, of course, your phone number, I think will generate results. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.